Channel. My name is Steve, and if you don't know it already, you can come to this channel and you can find information for the Atari and the Commodore 64 computer. You'll find both basic and assembly language programs available. Now, I have given more of a focus recently on the Atari versus the Commodore. I have found more people have been fascinated with the Atari than the Commodore, I guess, because the Atari was an easier machine to utilize in those days. To learn basic assembly, to learn basic programming was, in my opinion, it was actually a lot easier than trying to learn it on another computer like the Apple. I've explained this before, but if you ever tried to learn basic programming on an Apple to try to program like advanced sprites, graphics, and all that, it's a little bit more difficult. And on the Commodore 64, while you do have sprites, the graphics modes consume memory a lot, and it can be a lot more difficult to actually access those graphics. Now, it does have graphics inside the system itself, but you have to access it internally, and then when you try to draw on the screen, it's slow. It's a slow process. I could show up a video later if you're interested in seeing that. But for now, I wanted to show you what I'm working on with the Atari here. No pun to those guys who were watching the Commodore game. I thought that was going to be a great start, and I'm probably still interested in learning the scrolling, but I think I'm going to focus more to the Atari because people have actually taken a stronger focus on this again. Don't throw anything now. Okay, so what I wanted to do is show you some of the things I've been doing here. As you see right here, and as an example, I'm using the Altera assembler, or excuse me, the emulator for the Atari here, and I actually been working on my own character set editor. Now, it's not complete right now. There's still some flaws in it, but I wanted to kind of show you what's going on and what my plans are. And also, this video is going to be helpful because I'm going to teach you. I'm going to have to rerun this. I think I just crashed it. I'm going to teach you about how to design graphics on the Atari. It's actually an advanced graphic technique that actually sits between graphics 0 and graphics 1, known as ANTIC 4 and 5. And it's not accessible unless you actually create a display list to be able to basically access this special mode. It's actually like half the resolution and stuff. But it's really, really cool. I'm going to show you a game here. I'm going to run it. I found this online, and it's all done in ANTIC. Oops, I grabbed the Commodore. It's all done in ANTIC mode. I believe this one is ANTIC. Well, they use ANTIC mode 4 and 5 in this one. But watch this game here. I'll show it to you. When I found it, I thought it was pretty impressive. This is on the Atari computer. Something's wrong with the sound. Now, this mode you're looking at right here, this is ANTIC mode. I believe this is ANTIC mode 4. Now, if you try to compare this to regular graphics, you'll notice it's quite different. And a lot of the games, I'm going to turn this thing down, it's kind of noisy. A lot of the games in that day were actually centered around ANTIC mode 4 and 5. If you ever wanted to access what's called multicolor, you had to be able to set up a display list and basically access it internally. But as you can see, it's really sharp looking here. If you kind of look at some of the other, I think I have an Atari channel here. I could show it to you. I could remember where it went to. Where actually these videos are being advertised, and they have just a bunch of stuff here for the Atari. Let me take a minute to explore that here real quick. Might have it on a favorite here somewhere. So right here, you can actually get a lot of the actual Atari games, but I have one here and I don't think I saved it. It actually shows you, I wanted to show you where, yeah, here it is, where you actually can get this game from and kind of compare it to some of the other games, and you'll see the graphics, how they vary. So let me see if I can get back to it here. It's running a little bit slow. Actually, this is where the books are. Where is the... Here it is. Now, this is an example of a game that was actually a standard game done in, like, I think this one was graphics mode 2. Now, if you can kind of compare that to this one, you'll see there's a big difference. And just the quality and everything, the coloring is so much more, it's more rich. It's pretty close to the Turbo. They have what's called a Turbo Basic that was done on the Atari computers, too. When I looked at it, I was pretty impressed just by looking at it. I could really tell that, you know, that there would be an advantage learning this mode. Now, these are the links to some of the software that people wrote. I'll try not to go too far, but I wanted to kind of compare it and show you. This is the standard Atari graphics mode compared to ANTIC. ANTIC has just got so much more because of that special chip that the Atari computers had embedded later. Let's see, Astro Blaster. So you can kind of see this is a graphics mode 2 and this is ANTIC mode 4. There's Atari Tic-Tac-Toe. I'm trying to find a better quality game. A lot of these are kind of lower end type games, you know, on from a graphic perspective. I can't remember if I could find a really good example here. Let me just kind of look here. A lot of these were kind of written by other people too. Okay, here's another one. Even though that one looks kind of interesting looking, compared to this one, you can just see there's a bigger difference going on here. And this one's even utilizing actually displayless interrupts, but it still doesn't match, in my opinion, to what comes with ANTIC Mode 4. Like, you're going to get so much more. This one's kind of cool too. You can kind of scroll through it here. But ever since I've been studying this, and I've always wanted to learn this kind of graphics programming, I've been hooked on it. I'm addicted to it now. Now I know I want to make my next game using this. As a matter of fact, that game on my channel was actually using ANTIC Mode 4, but before I really understood how to use it. So that's the whole point I wanted to make here, is just to show you that this one it's better quality. So let's go back here. This is my editor, obviously. I don't really have a lot going for it, but what I'll eventually want to be able to do, you see how you can scroll through it. I basically took the characters out of this game and put them inside this editor just to kind of show you the graphics mode and all that. So another thing you could do is you can change the colors on this. I'll show that to you by pressing I have the keys that control the coloring. Now if you hold it down here, you'll see the different kind of coloring you can get, and it's really rich. This is a good way to really set up your colors and look for a really good, nice looking color that's going to really kind of stand out and kind of, you know, test them and everything. So I like that green one. That's kind of neat. And then you can also change the coloring up here too. I like the text and stuff. You can kind of see a little bit more there. But you can see just by looking at it, if you can really agree with me, don't you think that that's actually more rich? And keep in mind, this is actually just looking at an emulator. If I actually projected this on my television screen in the background, you would see a huge difference. It looks so much better when you sit on the actual system. But of course, the emulators kind of try to make up for that, but they don't hit exactly on the full quality you would get on the regular computer. And if you don't believe me, go on the internet and check out some of the games that they have that, like Max. Blue Max was a really good one, for example. I could probably pull it up here if I don't get condemned for putting videos out here. That sometimes YouTube will not let you monetize something if it's not your stuff or whatever. But I think they don't really have anything against Atari. So Atari Blue Max. This might be on an emulator, but if it is, it's not going to show the full quality. I can tell by looking at it in a second here, probably. Past the advertisements here. But this is actually used in ANTIC Mode 4. But even when you compare that and look at this, though, which do you think looks better? You can kind of even see, even though this is using a lower, they're not really taking advantage of all the coloring. While this one, I think, is taking advantage of a lot of different colors in it. So there's just so much more you can do with it. I'm going to also teach you guys, I didn't come up here to show you how to play games. I'm also going to teach you guys how to design your actual ANTIC mode graphics, how this all works. My computer is running so dogged slow. So let's go back so you can actually see the code. I know some of you like to see the code. Now if you want a shortcut out of this, use a reset key. I think it's number 5 actually. F5 will reset back to basic. Oops. And basically I took this apart from that game. So this code you're looking at here is identical to this game over here. And let me stop this and show you. unless I'm rewriting it from a cell. See, it's got the same name and all, Ace Newsletter, Eugene, Oregon. So I'm rewriting that to make my own character set editor, and also designing my own graphics with it too as well. That's my plan. So I don't know why my computer is wanting to choose to run so slow today. I had Norton running on it, and it's still not, I don't know, it's not up to speed. But I could explain parts of this program if you're interested in knowing about it, if you want to design your own character editor. But let's go into the graphics since I did talk about that first. But before I do that, I wanted to show you something really important you'll need to understand that took me, don't ask me why, it took me a while to really, for this to click for me. Now, when you're designing like your own graphics, for example, like if I wanted to design these graphic characters here, they're all made up of actual bits. They're made up of binary bits here. Now, I was hoping I had an example to show you here, but I don't think I do. But these are the characters that were taken from the game here. So I'll show you those for a second there. And just realized I'm not armed with my secret weapon. I don't have a pin, so I have to sit there and point at everything. Okay, so I'll use a pencil. So in this example, when you're looking at these little squares here, as you go into each one of these, this is a bit. So anytime you see a blank there, that's a 0, that's a 0, that's a 1, that's a 1, that's a 0, that's a 0, that's a 1, and that's a 1. And that number, binary-wise, is 51. It's the same way through here. When you go through each number, you basically look it up and figure out what the number is going to be. Now, why is that important? Because if you have nothing but a bunch of data statements here, let me pull the program back up here a second. It's seriously cutting down the speed on my computer. Okay, so right here, the data statements for the basic here. Hit F7 to break out. These right here are making up one of these characters in the game. So you take the first 8 bits, like this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that would be the first character that would be drawn on this, basically on a diagram like that. And the way to figure out how that works is at number 242. You could write that down on here, and you could add up the numbers. I mean, there's 2 ways to really do it. You could sit there, and you could put in and calculate these numbers until you get to 242, and then figure out which, or you write down 242 here and figure out which of these numbers equals that 242. Then you have to calculate them all the way down through it. Or there is another shortcut way of doing it here. Now, I wanted to take that video time to show you on this, which trying to figure out where my map in the Atari book went. So every time I want something, it fell on the floor. I was using it already. Okay, so remember what I told you about that number 242. So that's a binary number. What you want to do is look up a binary chart. Now you may not know it, but in the back of this book, Map in the Atari, there is a binary chart in the back. It's actually in Appendix 9. And what you do is you look here for all these binary numbers. Look beside it here, and you'll see the decimal number there. Now we're going to look for 242, so I know it's in this corner over here. It's actually close to the bottom here, so I'm going to move it over this way so I can show you. Move it up. Right. Working backward here, but I can't really see it, but right there, 242. That's the number right there for 242. Do you see it there? The 11110010. That's the binary number for 242. So you take each of those numbers that you'll see on the screen over here, and you calculate them. The easiest way to do it is just to write them in. Let me show you an example for any data statement here. I realize I don't even have my pen. Well, it's right here. Okay, I found it. Okay, so you would basically design on here, you're going to basically design your own little graph. So I'm going to draw that right now. I moved the camera down here if you want to see it for a second. Not how well you're going to see this, but we'll work with it. Something to draw on here. And you basically want to draw in your 8 by 8 squares here. So I don't know why it came in before, now it doesn't want to come in. Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to pick an area here. I just draw it beside it like this. And then you're going to count over 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's the 8th position right there. And then you're 8 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I already know because I got these on there, but you basically want to count 8 by 8. And you draw a little graph like that. And then at the top, you number it by the binary system, which takes powers of numbers by 2. So 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, and 1. And let me show you that here for a second. You can see it there. See it there on the end. 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. Now, what I showed you earlier with that number is we want to look that up in the back of the book. Since I can't read binary, I just look it up. And here, and you're going to basically take an area here. Hopefully you can see this. And I'm just going to put like I just put like the number in here, but you don't have to write in the zeros. You just basically want to look for the numbers that are ones. Not anything that's 0, because 0 is going to be off. So in this first one, 242, it shows 1, 2, 3, 4. So we take the first one, and I just dash them with 1s like that. You're going to have 1s on there. You're probably not going to see it. I'll show you in a second. And then there's also, after that, from the 242, it says 0, 0, 1, 0. So I know that there's going to be a 1 all the way over here. So let's show you what I did here. See, I got the 1s in there. That's going to represent the binary number. I could draw it here at the side if you want to see it, but I also need to calculate these. I'll just write it down here somewhere so you can see it. So it's 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0. And I'll show you what I did. Oh, it's over here. See the number right beside it there? Where's it at? Right here? That number right there is the binary number. It's going to represent that whole thing going across the 242. Okay, so then we take the next row here, which according to the program here is another 242, so that's easy. We just basically duplicate it. Next one shows 243. We could do this one without looking it up because there's just a 1 here. We just want to add the extra 1 in. And that would be 243. And then right beside here, I usually just write the numbers in. 242, 242, 243. I might be looking this one up in the middle too. Let me make sure that this, because it's not going to bring the right character out if I look it up in the middle. I'll make sure I started at the beginning of the data statement. Oh, actually, that is the beginning. Oh, great. Let's see here. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so we're still good on this. The next one is 0, so you don't need to put anything in because they're all going to be off. So it's going to be zeros. The next one is 171. Again, I don't know that number, so I can look it up in the book here just for 171. And you just look in the book here to see wherever 171 is. It's hard for me to read stuff upside down. So it'd be in this column here somewhere. Right there it is, 171. It's going to be that number right there, what we're going to put on the next line. So, okay, so we got 1. Next one is 0. Then there's a 1. And you skip the space for the zeros. 0. There's another 1. 0, 1, 1. And that's going to make up that next number there. So let me just write the next binary numbers here. I'm just writing them all down. I haven't been writing down the binary numbers, but I'm going to write them down anyway so you guys can see what's going on. So you can visually understand how it's working. Let me show you again. You're probably getting the hang of it now, but you see I'm putting in the numbers there. See them right there? Oh, the binary numbers. How am I going to work on this thing? Let's see. So right here, that make up these rows. Each one, this is 242, so that makes up 242. Really need something to hold this up. It's hard to see it. So 242 makes up the number. If we try to hold up a piece of paper, it's difficult, but I think you get any idea. So look up the next number, which would be 255. Now that's an easy one. All the rows add up to 255, so you just basically take out the numbers all the way straight across. It's going to be all ones. 8 ones. Okay, so we got 242, 242, 243, 0, 255, and actually we got another 255, so that makes this one easy. We just basically write those numbers in all the way across. And then we got another 0, so we can skip that row. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I skipped the number here somewhere. Let's see, 242, 242, 243, 0. I skipped 171, didn't I? Yes, I did. Oh, have to redo this real quick. If you skip one, it's not going to come out perfectly here. My error there, I went too quickly. That's why I so badly want to get this character editor working. This will save me having to go through all this paperwork all the time. Usually the best way to prevent mistakes is just to write the numbers directly down to the right of it in that column there. Hopefully you can see me writing it down there. This time without error. Let's make sure. So 171, that's where I put the 255 earlier. So then it would be 255, 255, and 0. So I just have to redraw it in here for each one. Okay, so 171. I'm sure I did that somewhere here. Maybe I did do it, I just didn't write down the right number. I think I just wrote down the wrong number. Yeah, I showed you that one earlier. Oh well, we're just doing it over here again. So it's to skip this one down. 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, and 1, 1 on the end. Okay, so now let's flip the camera back up here a minute so I can hold the paper up a little bit better. Hoping I didn't bore you too much with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it up here and I'm going to show it to you now and try to do my best job to look at it here again. So look at the numbers there. Actually, the one on the bottom is the one I want. It's the second one I did right down here. So the numbers, there's the numbers at the top. I showed you 128, 64, 32 from the powers of 2. And then this is the binary number right here. It's actually up here. I didn't write it beside it, but that's binary number. You can read it. It's going to be 11110010 equals 242 in decimal. Same thing for this one. That's a 242. 243 is just adding the extra number on the end because this is 1 up here anyway. And you got 0, and then basically that's what you're doing. Now I'm going to fill it in so I can show you what that character that it's going to look like, basically. Just to kind of draw it in here or something. It's one of the characters that's actually in that game I showed you earlier. You probably won't be able to tell, but it's actually one of the walls in the game. Look here. Let me just hold it up without pointing at it again so I can show it to you. Well, it's right here. This is the one I just filled in. So I'll go back and I'll run it here and show it to you. Actually, you can. Let's just run it here so I can show it to you here anyway. I'll stop it and show you which character that we just defined. We figured out what it was. I'll stop it here and show it to you. It's this one right here. I believe that's the one. Let me look at the other one. There's that one right there. Well, it's one of these. Let's see, VW, XY. That's just a man there. That's why I built this character editor, so I could look at him from a closer standpoint. But it's basically the first character there. So it was the wall that we were looking at. Oops. So hopefully you get now how to go ahead and design your own characters. Now I mentioned this earlier, but I wanted to show you, I think I mentioned this one, how the multicolors work. And how, I don't know why it took me a while to understand it, but there's a really important thing to understand about multicolor. When you want to get multicolor, you're looking for what I call a set of bit pairs. And I learned it in a book, like anything. It's this book right here, actually. It's a pretty good book to have. If you can see that there, it's the Advanced Programming Techniques for your Atari home computer. So, and it does have some pretty advanced stuff in it. So let me go to the graphics section. And make sure I didn't go too far. I think it's back here. There it is, multicolor. So it's right here. I'll hold it up and show it to you and explain. First you'll want to see the bit pairs, the binary bit pairs that is. This is going to be really hard to hold this one, but I'm going to do my best. So bear with me a second here while I figure out where the book is. It's right here on the bottom. And these are binary bit pairs here, so this 1, 1, that's one bit pair. 0, 1, that's another. 1, 0, that's another. And 0, 0. Now I would encourage you to go ahead and write those down here, because this is what we're going to do. Is we're going to go up here a second and read through here. Do the best we can here. The pixels that would be turned on for this color register are set by, see, it says peak 11, 711. And then this says this color register for 1 would be peak 709. The third combination, 1, 0. You can't see it, would be the color, maybe it's 708. Yeah, 708. So those, when you set up those bit pairs like side by side like that, as an example here, let me draw one in and show what a bit pair will look like. Like if we had to define one here on the computer from one of the examples we did here. I'll show you two such examples. Actually, there's one. There's 2. Now I'm looking for a 1 and a 0. We could do this one right here. So I kind of circled them to show them to you. But look here where I circled the first one. 1, 1. That's one of the color registers right there. That's going to define a certain color when you do the 1, 1 side by side like that. And the 1, 0, I don't know what the colors are, but nor the registers. I don't have memorized here. But 1, 0, that's another one. And then over here, 0, 1. Right there, 0, 1. So you're looking for the empty space beside it, and then the next one having a bit. That would register a different color. And that's how they get the individual colors. I'll show you in here again. You see this little man here? That's how they get the individual colors. Like there's a little yellow dot on his shirt. That color was made up by that bit point, whatever that one would be. So I have it on the... I'm going to try to change it here. I think it's this one right here. That's his pants. Maybe I don't have this one programmed right. Yeah, there it is right there. See how it's changing? And it's making it brighter. That's like a purple. So that's the color register that's changing that for that bit. I know that's going to probably be a little bit complicated to try to grasp it first. It took me a long time. So The point being is once you figure out how those bit pairs are, you can figure out how to set those colors just by doing it without a character editor. But once I get this character editor, it'll be that much easier for me. So that's the point. Understanding about multicolor is it all has to do with those binary bits and how they're setting up. Obviously, 0, 0 would just be the background, and then all the others would be the 708, 709, 710. And to show you what I mean by that here, let me see if I can stop this and go up here. Even though this one's kind of turned off, you may not see it. Where am I at now? I'll show you down in this little window here if it doesn't give me an error. So like poke 708, 20. And I knew it was going to give me an error. It's because I had all this other stuff on the line after it. 708, 20. Oh, it's seeing this one right here. It's looking at two different lines there, so. I'm trying to do this while ANTIC mode is still activated so I can change it for you. Okay, it seemed to work there. Now we'll do 709 and we'll set a number into it. Oh, I got an error here still. You got to clear all the lines or it's going to be looking at and seeing what's on that line. I could put a remark after it to make it easier, but I think I'm going to do that. Maybe remarking everything off after it. It's still picking up the next so many lines or so. So it's basically saying, what are you saying? Poke 709, 110 plus all these characters. I don't understand it. So let's see if we can get it to work. Man. Okay, let me just erase a few of these lines here. It's complaining. Hopefully I don't have anything left there. Alright. I wonder if it's looking at this up here. Let me test something here for a minute. Trying to see it, if maybe it's in lowercase and it's not telling me. Let's try it again. Oh, that's not it. Well, that was the whole point of doing these keys here that you saw me changing the colors, because they're all actually accessed directly into these locations. I don't know why it's not letting me do it here. I could clear the screen, do it that way, but then I have to redraw the characters to show them to you. Let me just do it that way for now. Try to speed this up a little bit. Okay, you saw it change there. Now I'm going to put the colors back on the screen, or the characters, so you can see that they're changing. See how it's looking a little bit brighter there? We'll put the man back up on there, and now we'll start messing with this colors a little bit. Actually, 708 would be 1. See his shirt changed a little bit there? Let's drop it down to like 50 or so. There we go. So you're changing based on wherever those binary bits are falling. So for the 708, I think that was the 101 or something. I'm almost going to write them down now so I can explain it better. So in the book here it says the 10 is 710, 708 is, well, that's the background color. Oh, that's probably why we didn't see that one. So 708 is the background. So write it on the back of here. So 711 is the 11. 711, 11. What, 710? 01 is 709. 01 is 709. They have these like out of order. 710. Oh no, they don't. I see they're going from highest to lowest. 710. That's still out of order. They got 711, 709, 710. That doesn't make any sense, but that's how they defined it here. So 710 is 10. And then the last one, 708, is just a 0, 0. Okay, so I got them now. I don't have to look them up anymore. So I'll show you what I did here. So right here it says poke. You poke in the number 711. That's going to be the two binaries for 1, 1. That would define the color for 711. Whenever using on the chart, 0, 1, that's going to be the register for 709. Like I showed you earlier, whenever using 1, 0, that's going to be 710. And 0, 0, the background is always going to be 708. So remember again, that's just these numbers I showed you right here. Where are we at here? Right here. So there's 1, 1, that's one color defined number. That's another color defined number up there in the corner. And the 0, 1 is another. And the 0, 0 in the background is another. So that's how you change them. And that's how it all works. That's the magic behind this really cool ANTIC mode too. To access it though, let me show you where it's done in the program. Because you're probably all heads are probably spinning right now. Okay, if I go to a graphics mode here, I don't see what you're talking about. Of course not. Because it's not inside of a graphics 2, a graphics 3, or whatever. It's actually inside of the display list. And remember, the display list is when you're doing this peak stuff here. 560 plus peak 561 times 256. And then you take a line there. Actually, let me look at the example they have in the book here so I don't poke in the wrong thing here. So 9120. That's the character set. Okay, so where's the display list here? It's the next one, 9130. Okay, let me just list it again here. I'm trying to figure out where they stuck it in the lines here. It's not my program, so I don't know where they keep everything, but I just started taking it apart here, so we'll go down through it here. Right here. So this right here is accessing that, what I just showed you earlier for the DL for the display list, plus 7, and they're putting a 5 into it to access ANTIC mode 5, which makes sense. It's ANTIC mode 5. So let me go back and just reset here. I think reset will keep it in memory, so yeah, it's still there. So we started this list, so we can still change it now. Just change one of these lines. We're going to be changing these graphics lines. Now, I showed this before, but the reason why I'm showing it this way now is so you understand that this is an ANTIC mode right here. This is ANTIC mode for the fancy colors you got earlier. But for it to be successful and for it to look prettier, you have to define the bits the correct way here. And see if I turn on my character set here. I don't think I can do it from here, but we'll try. Actually, looks like it worked. I think. Yeah, there it did. It changed the Y there, so there we go. Now you see the little man there. And then there's the brick wall I showed you earlier, which is basically this one right here. See how it looks different over there? Let me show you what it looks like compared to another mode here. So we'll flip the next line down underneath this, and we're going to add an 8. It's going to pick up the next line. And we're going to change that one to a different mode, so to speak. Now that's graphics mode 2. And let's put the same characters on there. Actually, there they are. See how there's no colors in them. Now it moved the screen since the display is shorter on this mode versus the one above it, because remember, ANTIC mode has half the resolution. So when you're sticking on the next mode there, what you actually want to do to fix it, I just throw in an extra 1 here like this, or 9, and now move it back over. So now it's equal to the modes again. So now it's looking at these last two, and see how the one above it is looking different. You don't get the full colors that way. So there's actually the man there. That's that little man you saw right up here in the corner. See, he doesn't got any colors in him, and he's looking kind of squished and everything. Now you could still go in here and also access another higher mode here. So that's graphics 1. Let's move this up to 7. Was it 7? There we go. I was saying that didn't look right. Now it's larger there. Now it's a little bit larger mode, but there's no colors unless you go in and change the cursor colors. And you have to hit the inverse key to do that. and you still don't get the full multicolors. All you're going to get is basically the, what was it, VW? All you're going to get is the regular one color for each individual graphic character. That's the point of why it's necessary to learn ANTIC mode if you want to get that multicolor mix going on. So I just thought I would show you that and everything. As you've already seen, you can do some pretty powerful stuff with it. The key to really get the coloring is to really set up those palettes in the right way. And that's why I created that editor, to kind of give the better effect of how it's going to look. So you can change the colors in the background there. So let's try 48. This one changes the background too. So, but earlier we had the whole screen filled, so you didn't notice the background was changing. So 711, was that the other one? Let's see. 711's not one. Yeah, actually, I think it just changed the shirt, didn't it? No, it didn't. 708's the background, so 709 would be another one. See, it's kind of changing the top part of his head there. So if I make this like a darker color, you'll see his head get really dark color there. So hopefully that gives you guys a start, on how to create your own ANTIC mode. And let me show you the lines that you'll want to define this by. The easiest way to do it is just to use this listing I just created here. So we'll go back to it. I always forget to turn on this camera for the timer. Oh well, let's go back here. See right here, the 709, 710, I stuck them in here and I basically used keys to change them. See the C1 equals C1 plus 1. If you're pressing a numeric key there, then it's going to change the colors. That's how I did it in this program. So I could test how they're going to look. So right here is the line. This is basically the only line you need. I think this is the only one I have in here is the for W equals DL plus 7 to DL plus 18. Let me show you that line, 3099. Clear the screen here. Oops. I'm going to do it real time so you can see it and get rid of the return. We don't need that. Watch. See, it just changed all these lines. Now they also got the top line changed here too, so I think that's somewhere else in the code. As you can see, it's all changed here. So let me just reset it again here. I'm not used to these keys yet, so you can bear with me on that a second. I'm trying to see what else they did to it. That's right here, so it's at 9,000. That's where they did all the regular changes here. So what you want to do is you want to use this whole line right here. This will put in the correct lines, and I could run that to you here and show it to you. It's actually going to involve a couple lines here. So 9,000 through 9,010. And what they're doing is they're basically taking the top of the display list and moving it to the bottom so the screen's kind of flip basically and stuff like that. But we could go sub to 9,000. It might give an error, but let's see what happens. There you go. And you just saw everything change. Now you're looking at a full screen, including the top characters, with ANTIC mode 4. So I could sit there and hopefully I didn't crash it. I sit there and type in there or do whatever I want. That's ANTIC mode graphics there. And so once you get the colors on them correctly, it looks so much better. So my Alienware computers is humming over here. It's like I don't know what it's doing. You always hear that weird humming. It's my computer. So let's erase this again. I don't know what line that was. Oh, we don't have the character set turned on. I had it in lowercase. So the character set should be on now. But hopefully that will give you the idea of what's going on here. You can use this program as an example. Just go to this website too if you want to get the actual game, the one I showed you earlier here. I think I just turned it off with the one in the background here. Where is it? This one, I think. What's behind it right here? This one right here. This is the actual game. Never seen it go so slow. Okay, so that game I was showing you there, obviously you can just get it down here at this website where I just showed you. I have too many windows open, that's my problem. Right here. So you can get it right here. It's called Pharaoh's Tomb. Just scroll down to Pharaoh's P section. Just saw it. Right here, you just click on this and it'll take you right to it. So that's where I got it from and that's what I learned from. So I'm just telling you there because I don't have anywhere else you could really get to it right now. Unless I put this code up on my website. I don't have an Atari page there yet, so I didn't want to do that unless I created an Atari section. So, but that's the whole point of this video, was to really show you that what I'm working on and things I have planned for you later. I'm going to try to make a game in ANTIC mode 4. This is where the keyboard's initialized here. This is the space key. I have it set right now, so if you're moving in that little graph chart you saw me moving the arrow keys in earlier, it's going to plot a bit point based on that map coordinate. And I have the use of an array here, although I have it turned off here, and I was doing it some testing purposes. But it's down here. Right here is where it sets the bit, and it keeps track of the moved position for MP. Wherever you're moving. So if you move the cursor over 8, it's going to move it over 8, and it's going to keep track of what's in DT. Now if you go to DT here, you'll see here at the top I defined it right here. It says DT1 equals 128, DT2 equals 64, DT2 equals 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. Or those same powers numbers I showed you earlier on the graphics sheet at the top there. So that's all those numbers are. And I'm making the computer figure out where they are in the screen. I don't know. That's one way I thought to do it. There's other ways of doing it, but that's just how I'm doing it for now. So that's the whole point of this video here. Here's where it calculates all the bits. Once I've figured out what they are, I calculated them in a sum here, and then I just basically wrote them out into another array that you can print out to the screen here. It's not working properly though, so let me run it and show you what I mean. Still in production. Like a lot of things. Okay, so you see down here at this number here is changing. This is keeping track of where I am in this chart. So it's the same right here. I got to fix the movement too. It's all screwed up. Right here. Actually, let me run this again. The computer's timing is really off, so I'm trying to hit something and it's moving the key after I pressed it, and it's waiting to move it, and it's kind of hard to move the keys here, so hope I figure out what this little thing on my computer is that's slowing it down. So right here it says 1 because this is row 1, this is row 2, 3, 4, and so on up to row 8 here. And then when you go down 1 here from here, it ever moves, You can go down one here. It's going to go to 9, which is the next line down because this one goes to 8 and this is at 9. And it kind of skips down in increments of 9 there. So it knows where the plots are happening inside of that chart I showed you that I was designing the graphics for. So when I have it, like you press the space bar here, like that. It's moving too slow for me to do anything with it. It's basically later I'm going to have it draw a chart out here and tell you, first of all, it's going to graph the character out so what it looks like so you can see it real time as it's changing in here so you can get the exact look you need for it. And then also if you hit the start key, which is the F2 key, or is it F1? No, I think it's F2. There it is. I'm going to have it draw data statements out, although these aren't calculating right for right now. It's trying to calculate in the first row, but it's not doing it properly here. Something's wrong with the calculation, so I need to fix that. But that's the whole point of what it's going to do and what I've got planned for this, so we can start designing some really cool graphics on the Atari. So I don't know how long this video was. I know it's probably kind of winded and everything, but I just wanted to kind of get you guys a start. Now, for those who are still wanting that Commodore 64 game, I don't really know what to say about that right now because I get a lot of people who don't like the Commodore 64. And I found there's an advantage to knowing more about the Atari itself because there are ways, as you're already saying, to do advanced graphics and stuff like that. And it's kind of a trade-off. You know, you've got good sound on the Commodore 64 versus the Atari doesn't have the great sound. Although they both carry the same channels, but you have more control over it on the Commodore 64. You have more control of the graphics on the Atari computer and less on the Commodore. And it kind of is a trade-off between the sprites and the player missile graphics. So give me your thoughts on that anyway. I thought I'd be interested in hearing what you have to say. But I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up for now so I can get back to work here. And still thinking about doing that, learning that fine scrolling because I want to implement that into my actual game when I get it going here. So it's going to be kind of similar to the one you saw here earlier for Pharaoh's Tomb. It's going to utilize, well, that music is way up. It's going to utilize my own graphics in here, and I'm going to implement it so when you move like this, it's going to be doing fine scrolling, and this is doing coarse scrolling right now. It's going to be doing fine scrolling. So, hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I have enjoyed bringing this to you. If you're interested, go ahead and subscribe. You know, I encourage that and everything here. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and look forward to see you in the next update. Take care.